Things are starting to heat up again as we get to these last final episodes of Dragon Ball Daima. But the question still stands, is this show good enough? Welcome back to the channel, everybody. It's your boy Nerdstone92 here, back with another video, and today we are going to be discussing Dragon Ball Daima episode 14 titled Taboo. But before we go ahead and get into this episode review, be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to receive notifications so that way you know every time I happen to upload a brand new video. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this thing. So as I stated in the intro, again, things are starting to heat up. Again, it's the last couple of episodes. This is episode 14. There are only about 6 more episodes left because we have seen that Dragon Ball Daima is going to end around episode 20. So the question again stands, is this show good enough? And I will have to say, so far, it is, and it's definitely worth it, and I am definitely enjoying it. So as far as episode 14, we pretty much left off where we last left the group. Gloria was sitting here complimenting Pansy on her ship repairs from what happened with the Megas, and obviously she's excited about receiving that compliment. So at that point, she actually radios in on her friend Peril, who is the guy that actually has helped them stay in contact with her father, and when Vegeta and the other group were still on the lookout. So she essentially tells Peril that they made it to the second demon world and got the Dragon Ball and now heading to the first demon world. And she wants him to relay this message to her father. Peril then tells her that he's kind of busy at the moment because he went to the first demon world himself to steal a plane for them, which I thought was pretty funny. And what was even funnier is the fact that Vegeta actually overhears this whole conversation, and then he makes this whole statement saying that he's a king and yet he steals planes. Again, this is Vegeta just being his old uppity self just because he feels as if he's still royalty, which again, he's not. He's the prince of all, 3 Saiyans? But Pansy tells him that they only had one mid-sized busted plane before, and even though he's a king, they aren't rich. Remember, they do live in the third demon world. And Bulma, being the nice person that she is, told her that if she's able to get some Magilite, which again is that material that lives above the third demon world and below the second demon world, and it actually allows a lot of the planes within the demon realm to actually fly and whatnot. But again, Bulma says if she's able to get that material, then she'll be able to give Pansy some planes. As the group's actually arriving at Warp Sama, we actually end up going over to Goma and Degetsu. And Goma's asking Degetsu, is the group ready? And we found out the group that he's discussing, or that he's talking about, is actually his special forces, if you will. And what's crazy enough, these special forces really give us some Ginyu Force vibes. Yes, they are the Ginyu Force of the demon realm, or the first demon world. We see the group at first, they're just sitting there eating snacks, and Goma is just like, what are these guys doing? And it's actually classic Toriyama because again, he subverts expectations around every corner. And that's what I love about Dragon Ball. I love about Toriyama's projects. They're funny, they're hilarious. I like their little quips and whatnot. But once they notice that Goma is standing there waiting on them, they hop up, they get to it, and then they go through this whole spiel. Like again, very reminiscent of the Ginyu Force because they have this whole little Super Sentai spiel, just like the Ginyu Force. Because again, the Ginyu Force actually took inspiration from the Super Sentai series. So we go through each and every one. There's 5 of them, and again, they have their whole little spiel and intro. We get to see all their names, which number they are. It's really funny, especially the poses that they do. And Goma, the entire time that he's doing that, he's just not having any of it. And it seems like he's a bit embarrassed. But once they're done, the captain essentially asked him, what are they summoned there for, right? And then Goma proceeds to tell them that an insolent group of renegades may attempt to invade here. And then Getsu essentially gives them the spiel of what's going to happen, essentially telling them that he shut down Warp Sama, so they should not be able to get to the first demon world. But if they do get to the first demon world, then that is when they will step in and take care of Goku and them's group, or so they think. And they are thinking that it's some strong, high power level beings that are there to attack them. But again, Goma tells them, no, it's just children, or at the very least, adults that look like children. And the group's just laughing about this whole thing. And then the Getsu tells them that they are utter beasts who defeated Majin Buu and even the Tamagamis. And again, they're taking all of this as a joke. But the Getsu and Goma both tell them that this is not a joke, this is serious, and take this very seriously. So they leave, but again, they are still feeling as if this is some type of joke. world. But it's at that point that we go back to Goku's group and we see again they are at Warp Sama and they realize that something's wrong because Warp Sama is not moving and he's just not reacting to anything. It's at that point that Neva understands exactly what's going on and he tells the group that Goma must have switched off Warp Sama. So Goku goes outside the ship to actually test to see what's going on and he pokes Warp Sama's lip with the power pole. I thought that was actually pretty funny. And then Vegeta asks, is there any other way to the first demon world? And when she's told that the only other way is through the tunnel. So remember in the first few episodes when we actually got to the third demon world, we actually saw the tunnels that actually led to each demon world, but again they were closed off and they were blocked by a shield of light. So it's at that point Goku gets the bright idea to actually try and see if he can touch the shield with the power pole. So he extends the shield down to the power pole, but as it's going down, Pansy tells him pull it back up because if not he won't come back alive. And as she says that, the power pole touches the shield and a huge, and I do mean huge, bolt of lightning shoots back up the power pole and it shocks the crap out of Goku. And obviously he's stunned, so he begins to fall. And then it's at that point that Neva essentially comes out and says, I'm about to air this bitch out. And when he said that, I was like, ain't no way he just said that. But essentially what he meant was, I'm about to take down the shield to all of the demon worlds. And yes, he is that powerful. So he essentially just floats out, holds his hand out, and he starts speaking in the Mechian. And this energy comes out of his hands, and it essentially first shoots up to the third demon world shield, and then he does it again and shoots one down to the first demon world shield, and he dissipates the entire thing. And while this is happening, Piccolo is astonished at this entire fact, and on top of that, this entire sequence looks beautiful. I love this entire sequence. It was almost as if every single image or every single shot was one of the most beautiful still frames, or not even still frames, they were still animated very well, but it was beautiful. I'll say that. It was very beautiful. I love the colors. I love how it's animated. It was top notch. But again, like I said, Neva actually dissipated the shield. So once Goku gets back up to the ship, everybody's thanking Neva, saying how amazing he is. But then Piccolo says Neva was the one to actually create the shields in the first place. And obviously he does say pretty much. He begins to tell the story of how he created the shields because there was chaos within the second demon world at one point. There are always ruffians coming from the third demon world to the second demon world to terrorize people, especially the Namecs. And then there were a bunch of arrogant, essentially high valued people coming from the first demon world, not caring about what's going on in the second. And because of this, it was impossible to live in peace. And it was one of the reasons why the Namekians left the demon realm in the first place. So because of that, Neva ended up putting the shields to prevent passage. And because of the shields being put up, Warp Sama was then put in that place. And even though there were still travel between the demon worlds, it ended up slowing down a lot because obviously not everybody's going to get granted travel through Warp Sama. So at that point, the group heads back into the ship and then they go through the tunnel to the first demon world. And then we cut back to the Getsu and Goma, and we see that the Getsu is the only one that actually senses what's going on. Goma does not have a clue that the tunnel's actually open, but the Getsu has a faint idea that something is off. He doesn't know exactly what's going on, but he has a faint idea that something is off. Crazy enough, at this point, we actually cut to a dang candy shop. Yes, a candy shop within Dragon Ball. We see the Gender Marie Force pop up to come and shop because earlier, again, when we first met them, all they were doing was eating snacks and chips, and they wanted to come back and get some more. So they're sitting there searching. They see flavors like trash salt flavor and moldy mayonnaise flavor. My God, the crazy crap that you see in the demon world as far as what they're eating is wild. But again, as they're shopping, Ku and Do pop up to sit there and buy themselves some chocolate. But the Gender Marie Force thinks they're there to actually praise them or whatnot, but then they notice that the kids are simply there just to get some chocolate, and they think that the 2 pieces of chocolate they have is all that they can afford, right? So at that point, the Gender Marie Force, thinking they're doing the nice thing and whatnot, sits there and starts grabbing a whole lot of chocolate off the shelves. And Ku and Do are amazed, they're so happy and whatnot, and then they're told to hand over those 2 pieces of chocolate so that way you can take all this, right? We'll pay for it, you know, we're nice guys. We're the heroes of this world, right? He tells them, eat up so you can be powerful elites like us one day, right? So then when they get up to the counter to pay, they see that it's gonna cost them 10,000 Dokuro, the currency within the demon realm, right? And then they realize how broke they are. They barely got any money in their little wallet. So the whole joke is that they can only give them the 2 pieces of chocolate that Ku and Do picked up in the first place. I thought that was hilarious. And then as they're walking walking away because they bought stuff for themselves first, right? They sit there and say kids shouldn't eat too many snacks anyway. But at the end of the day, Ku and Do are still happy they got chocolate regardless, so they say thanks and they did his dip. And then we go back to Arentsu as Ku and Do are sitting there eating their chocolates. She's sitting there seeing how the Jin and Marie are just outside the building that she's in, just watching over her essentially, or guarding her, because obviously Goma knows what's going on with her. And then she looks up and sees that the shield has come down. And then we go back over to Goku and the gang, and they realize that their ship is breaking down. And the reason that it's breaking down is because at the top of the first demon world, there is a sun that is making it 60 degrees Celsius, which is technically about 140 degrees Fahrenheit for those that live in the US. And again, that's very hot, and it's causing the currents or something along those lines to be very, very powerful within that tunnel. So the plane is essentially about to break down. So the group essentially decides that the best thing for them to do is to actually jump out and fly, because obviously most of them, everybody except for Bulma, can actually fly. So the crew actually jumps out, and as Vegeta and Bulma are getting ready to jump out, they tell Hybus to actually grab the Dragon Balls. So Hybus and Glorio grab the 2 Dragon Balls, then they hop out. And then we cut to see that the plane actually falls and crashes on the first demon world as the crew is coming flying in. And as they're flying in, Bulma again states how hot it is, but Glorio reminds her that it's because of the proximity of the sun within the first demon world. And once they're on the surface, it'll be a lot cooler. But as that's happening, the Jin and Marie actually see the plane crash, and then they look up to see the group falling down. And then they phone into Dagetsu telling him that, hey, we see people falling in through the tunnel. And once Goma gets word of this, he's astonished at how they actually made it through to the first demon world. And he's telling Dagetsu, I thought you shut down Wart Summer. And obviously Dagetsu actually did. But he's still confused at how the tunnel's shield actually broke. And as he's staring at Goku, he says, screw it all, just tell everybody to go on to a full-on attack. So it's at that point the Jin and Marie start firing at the group, and then the group's trying to fly away, and that's essentially how the episode ends. So in my opinion, this episode was definitely better than the last one. Again, I feel like the last one was more filler-esque, but it was still good. This one, again, is getting to the point to where we're needing to get things going. A lot more serious things need to happen, and I'm glad that we're getting to that point. I'm glad we finally made it to the first demon world. So let me know in the comments what your thoughts are about episode 14, and what do you think about Dragon Ball Daima so far? Are you enjoying it? Do you feel as if there needs to be more action, or are you just not watching it that much at all and just tuning into some of the reviews? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to go ahead and hit that subscribe button and then ring the bell to receive notifications. That way you know every time I happen to upload a video. And I also try to stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're looking to catch me live, be sure to go to twitch.tv/NerdStorm92. And if you want to just catch up with me on all of my socials, I pretty much have everything. You can find me at NerdStorm92 on pretty much everything. I'll have everything linked down below in the description. And with that being said, I will catch y'all in the next Dragon Ball Daima video. Peace.